And the seagulls follow the trawl. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
And as we say now in my country, they brought the bus and they left the bus in front of the goal.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. Never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Hello and welcome to the Sunday Blether. Guys, how are we all doing? Are we doing all right? I'm looking at the comments right now, right? And I just want to say right off the bat, there is no topic that is too controversial for this show. Right off the bat, Michael McDonald's got when flour and eggs start to appear in the shops at the start of January, you know, Pancake Day has become too commercial. So we're going to dive right into that, guys.
The Easter eggs are usually in the shops at this point as well. Usually right after Christmas, the Easter eggs start appearing.
I do love a good pancake, David. Do love a good pancake.
Well, you know, pancakesports.com. If you no, well, right, enough of that, right? Guys, welcome along, right, to the Sunday Blether. And as usual, I'm joined by the roster of all rosters. We've got Phil McGinley, Mr. Friday Night himself. We've got the judge, Mark Kearney, and the face that runs the place, Regan Stevenson. Guys, how are we doing?
Doing well, David, doing well. And I've not got any dogs that are barking in here during this show today, but Michael Beale will definitely be barking this time next Sunday when he sees that his team have been barking against Celtic when they get beat in the cup final. But yeah, I'm doing very well, David. Celtic Park yesterday, we bit of Saturday Night Fever. I certainly enjoyed myself, but now I'm back to the Great Sunday Show. Thank you for having me on, mate.
It's always a pleasure having you on again. Mark, you doing all right, my man? You doing okay?
I'm doing very well, thanks, mate. I enjoyed the game yesterday. I thought the first half was just about as good as I've saw Celtic for a long time this season. I thought they were just relentless. Their energy was only matched by their ability yesterday. I thought Celtic was just relentless. Some of the play was phenomenal, but sometimes when you've got that much ability, you can kind of take the foot off the gas. I thought Celtic they were relentless yesterday. It's good to see a Celtic team mixing their skill with just as much desire to do the job physically as well. It was great to watch.
Phil, you were also at the game yesterday. How are you doing, bro? You doing all right? You tired after your late night watching the old wrestling?
I'm absolutely fine, mate. Fresh as a daisy. I expected I would be quite tired, but no, I'm not too bad. But yeah, yesterday, great performance. Just echo what the guys are saying. Because I have said for a few shows now that I felt recent performances we're not playing bad, but we're playing within ourselves. Sort of, we're waiting for something coming along. Obviously, there's something very big on the horizon at the end of this week. And I think yesterday was the perfect tune-up for it, because that after that third goal went in, it just the atmosphere, everything, the pressure we put on them, just the style of play, everything was amazing at that point yesterday. Just we were fantastic to watch, and it's a perfect little warm-up for a certain game next week, which we'll definitely talk about at some point, I imagine.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky to have all three of you on today, because I could not for the life of me get to see any of the game, which was doing my nutting. But this is why we've got the Sunday Blether and we've got the post-match pish to watch, and so we know how the game went. But before we dive into the rest of today's Blether, Phil, it's time for all that good stuff, mate. If you like what we do, just give us a like, give us a share, become a Bhoycie Bus member. That's totally optional. There's no extra content for doing it. It's just a way to help support the bus, and we appreciate you guys doing that. Piesports.com. You needing your pastry goods delivered to your door, it's piesports.com. Make sure that you go to the discount code bit and you type in bus 1888 and you'll get 12.5% off your order. Door-to-door delivery of all those tasty pies. Not the pies that The Rock talks about, but
no, not those ones.
the other pies that are very delicious. And of course, we've got the Bhoycie Bus shirt that is now available to pre-order.
Yes.
They've come along nicely, so I'm looking forward to seeing the ones arriving for the team. Of course, you've got the Bhoycie Bus logo there, and you've got I like the old retro collar. And from what I believe, the material is not quite, it's more like, it's quite nice casual wear as well. It's not just full sportswear. You'll be able to wear it down to the old shopping centre, go to your local supermarket to get your eggs and your flour for your pancakes. Sporting the old bus. But, right, let's talk a wee bit about the game, because I'd like to do that since I wasn't able to enjoy it as it was unfolding. But like you said, Phil, we've been a wee bit very comfortable the last few games. You can always see us kind of pulling back a wee bit, as if like we've got other games to focus on coming up. But yesterday it appeared to be a bit of which sharpened the claws and the teeth, and we really went for the jugular yesterday with Aberdeen. It looked like from the start, when we were 2-0 up very early on, that it could have been a lot more. You almost feel a bit disappointed that it was only 4 goals yesterday.
Yeah, that's definitely the case, because 2 up within 20 or so minutes by Callum McGregor getting us off to the perfect start. And after that, it was just all go. Obviously, I did feel in the second half, there was a point where it did feel like it was going to peter out, but all it took was one major incident to sort of get it going. And that third goal, the work and the build up to it was just phenomenal. And then, after that one, it was just all the way to the end of the game, which was relentless. Just look at the way the fourth goal came about, the way Haksabanovic slides in and wins that ball. I mean, it's the 89th minute. We're 3-0 up anyway, but that commitment to go and win that, then he squares it across to Abada, who finishes it really well. It was an all-round great performance. To say it's a perfect tune-up for next week. And my God, Rio Hatate, what more can we say about this guy? He's absolutely running the show right now. He runs Scottish football. It's his world, and we're all just living in it right now. He is absolutely out of this world. Phenomenal performance again from him. And it's a very, very exciting time to be a Celtic fan. But that performance yesterday was the perfect sort of tune-up for the main event that's coming up at the end of the week. So, exciting times, mate.
Well, we're going to deep dive into a bit of Rio Tati in a wee bit. But before we do that, Mark, I'm seeing in the comments now a lot of people talking about our striker up front yesterday, which was O. Like I keep saying, I didn't see much of the game yesterday, but from what I heard, I think he had a decent enough game. Were you happy with his performance for his first start? Despite not getting a goal, did he manage to work his way into that box and cause problems, cause a bit of chaos, did he?
I think his movement was pretty good, but the game kind of passed him by. If I'm being totally honest with you, David, he was like up to play every now and again, and he was a presence. You could tell he was on the park, but I think the game passed him by. I think it was the Hatate and the Maeda show, to be quite honest with you. And Jota in the first half was utterly immense. He looked like he was just getting into second gear. I thought the full team yesterday looked really good. Oh, I got no complaints about the guy. I think he will get more game time as the season goes on. But just yesterday, as I say, the game just passed him by, and that can happen. You know, the guy needs to. He's playing in a team that are at a very high level just now, and that you can't just walk into that. Well, most players can't just walk into that and start to. I don't think you can judge the guy. I don't think I'm trying to judge the guy. Although, if he scored a hat trick yesterday, we'd all be saying he was outstanding. So you can judge him. You can say he's great at the start, but you can judge a player at the start if they score a goal. You say, "Oh, that's brilliant. He's great." It's all right to do that, but if you just say, "Oh, he's maybe not had the best game," it's not right to do that. But
yeah,
I thought I was actually the most impressive part about Celtic yesterday was their work rate more than anything. Phil just said it there. I mean, the fourth goal, I missed the last two goals. I had to leave just as Celtic scored the third goal. I was walking down the stairs. I was going out for dinner, and they're running and they're closing players down in the 87th minute. I mean, when you don't need to do that. I mean, there's no obligation for you to be busting a gut at that time of the game. But this is Ange Postecoglou's Celtic, and you will see that. I thought that the full team revved up pretty nicely for next week. I thought, if I'm being totally honest, and this is just my honest opinion, I thought Matt O'Reilly was a bit of a passenger yesterday, and I'm so pleased to hear Ange Postecoglou saying that Aaron Mooy's he's fit for next week. He'll be back on Tuesday. He just wanted to give Iwata a wee bit of game time and give Mooy a bit of time off, and I thought that was good news because we really need Mooy's presence in midfield next week. And to be quite honest with you, just because it is early doors, and it is early doors, you can tell that he's isn't ready for it just now. So it was actually really good to see Kyo go back on the bench. It I was a bit relieved when I seen he was fit again, because we can't really rely on players that are just coming in the door to polish for a game like that, because they're going to be fed on them.
No, absolutely. Regan, from where the goals came from yesterday, obviously didn't come from Mo, but from what I gather, I think he occupied the two centre backs fairly well. From what I managed to catch on the highlights of Sports Scene this morning was, he was occupying those two centre defenders. He was very physical, which then obviously allows to create space for the likes of Hatate and McGregor, and obviously I know Abada scored once he went off, but that's the kind of thing that's the kind of gameplay that these guys are going to thrive off of, as long as these guys have been occupied by the big centre forward, that's allowing to create the space for these opportunities to come from. Another player that obviously impressed yesterday, which then led to a VAR decision, which I know you want to discuss. Maeda once again showing his absolute ridiculous work rate, that eventually I think we're going to have to get him to piss in a cup to make sure he's not he's not on any sort of performance enhancers, because that boy is the pace that we've seen for him to get, which was a lost cause as far as I was aware. From what I managed to see, it looked like a lost cause. Yeah, nothing seems to be a lost cause for Maeda. He'll chase everything.
I mean, I thought Maeda was great again yesterday. I don't know how many times he scored this season, David, but it might be close to that bet now. Of 20 goals, was it you said he scored? But yeah, he's playing well. I think he'll be a very, very important part of the Celtic plan next week when they go to the National Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's proved that he's a big game player now, Maeda. I mean, and I think, like you said, there he occupies the centre backs, and I think Maeda will score next week against Rangers because he scored at Ibrox, and I just think he's got the bit between his teeth, and he's scored quite a few goals the last few weeks, and he seems to be, since he's been to the World Cup, he seems to be a different player for me. I don't know what you guys think, but
Agreed, 100%.
I think he just seems to be a different player. I don't know if he's got some new sort of
self-belief or something.
Self-belief that he's a very good player, because I don't know, like, if possibly it was becoming too easy that he was always going to be in the Celtic squad, but now he just seems to be a new player, and I think next week he's going to have a very, very important part for us, David.
I think it was just a case of when Maeda he's maybe just taking a little bit longer to settle than others. Like Kyogo just hit the ground running right off the bat and just seemed to settle perfectly. And I think then every other Japanese player that came in, like Kyogo, had set a bit of a bar for us to expect the same from everybody. Obviously, Hatate came in and hit the ground running as well. Yes, he petered off a wee bit at the end of the season, but now we're seeing the fruits of that. The performance that we've seen for Hatate. I now think now that Maeda's probably maybe settled into the team, he's got the backing of the manager. There's no doubt about that, which is obviously a massive confidence booster for him. The fact that he was the only player from our squad to get picked for the national team and do well, that is real. That only skyrocketed his confidence levels, and he's come back a far better player. It's amazing what a bit of confidence can do for you, Phil.
It is. It's quite bizarre, like going round the table there and talking about our sort of thoughts and opinions. Go back 3-4 months, and Maeda, the idea of Maeda being such a key player for most of us on the bus and most of the fan base was like unheard of. And obviously the Aaron Moy thing we've talked about to death. You know, now it's like we'll be so delighted if Aaron Moy starts next week. And again, the two of them have got something in common. They both went to that World Cup, both played in every game that their country was out there. And yeah, they've came back absolutely at the top of their game, I feel. Maybe in, Maeda's case, there's more to even come. Obviously, Moy he's quite well on. He's kind of in the twilight of his career now, but he's playing phenomenal. He's a calming head in the middle of the park, and we'll definitely need his experience next week. Because you know what it's going to be against them. There'll be a lot of blood and thunder in the middle of the park. Because we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, Sunday Blether, we mentioned the game at Ibrox when we're 2-1 down, kind of lost our heads a little bit, and they brought on Aaron Moy, and it was like, is this the substitution we need right now? But he was a calming head at a time when we needed it. And next week there's going to be a lot of frantic moments on the park. So he is such a key player now. And it's just weird to sit and think about, rewind 4 or 5 months, on this show in particular. None of us saw this coming, but as we said at the time, we're happy to be proved wrong. We're more than happy to be proved wrong. So yeah, it's great. If they're playing well, then that means Celtic are playing well. And it's the two of them have just been phenomenal. Maeda, I've done a complete 180 on him. Again, it was always like, always a badder every day. But now it's like, I think you get a great performance out of both of them. I think it's a winner either way. I think, it's great to have all these options. So for Ange, it's he's got an embarrassment of riches right now to choose from. A lot of players in good form.
I see there's a comment here, Mark, from David Tomey that said Harry Kewell for me is the difference in Maeda. I think that's a fair point to make. I mean, we kind of wondered when Harry Kewell joined, he didn't exactly have the most glittering management career before he came. I think he actually failed quite miserably at his last management job. So I raised a little eyebrow when he came. However, what he does bring is a wealth of experience of being a very successful winger, and that is only going to benefit the likes of a Maeda and Abada. Even like Phil saying that Abada's also he's come on a fair bit since. Obviously he was always scoring goals. That was his, you could argue, was the only thing he was really doing, because he wasn't really willing to take on a man. He was always kind of ghosting in at the near post, the back post. But he's now has a bit more confidence in almost taking on a player, it would seem. And I don't know if that's maybe the Harry Kewell effect. It's maybe he's saying to these guys, you guys have got every defender in this league on toast. You just need to start making more correct decisions when it comes to whether to take on the man or not. And I think maybe I think David might be onto something here, that the Harry Kewell effect is rubbing off on the both of them.
I think Harry Kewell actually got a shout out from Maeda after the World Cup. He says Harry Kewell been really working closely with him, and he's probably one of the main reasons why his forms kind of took an upward trajectory. I mean, you can only learn from a guy like that. If you want to learn and listen, I'm sure he can give you a lot of pointers. I actually think that Ange said the reason why he pressed the button on Harry Kewell was because he heard there was interest in him for other clubs, and he says, if this guy's in the market, we need to get him because somebody's going to take this guy and we'd rather have his experience. I mean, Harry Kewell, it made me a bit like Damien Duff. You never really knew what we were getting until they've came. He's added something to that Celtic backroom team that maybe was missing before. I mean, we've all spoke to death about what exactly Stratton and O'Day and all the rest of what they do behind the scenes. We don't know the truth of the matter. I mean, they could be putting the cones out, they could be integral, and they could just be good at taking instructions. But Harry Kewell's maybe got like a parallel vision of Ange, you know what I mean? It's the same sort of way he wants to play football. If he can get in the players' heads and make them better, then that's obviously what's happened with Maeda. I dare say he's done the same with Abada as well. I think I totally agree with you. I think Maeda always had something in him. And, I just felt like the football ability was missing. I thought he'd everything bar the ability to go that level up. And I thought once we do that, we'll have a good player in our hands. And I think he has done that. I mean, some of his wee touches that he's been making, and some of the I didn't see that in his locker. I mean, his goal at Eastern Wood, I would never have pegged that for a Maeda goal. That was a goal that you would see a Jota score or a Tati scores. And definitely Harry Kewell's getting his heat. I mean, if you're getting a shout off of Maeda, it just shows he must be doing a particularly good job at coaching him, either being 101 or at least making it easy for Maeda to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Regan, let's deep dive into Rio Tati, because, like we said at the beginning of the show, this guy is right now undeniably just pure ridiculous. He's just ridiculous, right? I want to just take us back to hit the start of his career. All right, this guy was at I can't pronounce it, Jotendo University, and he was apparently one of Japan's most promising university students who, out of nowhere, announced that he was going to sign for a J1 league side, Kawasaki Frontale, in 2020 when he graduates. He still had to finish his university degree before he then was signed to a J1 club. Now, I think he was only there, a year? No, sorry, he joined Frontale in 2018 as a designated special player. I'm guessing that kind of goes back to the whole utility player announcement that Celtic put out. And he was approved to continue as a designated player in 2019. So obviously when he signed as an actual player for the club, he was kind of mainly utilised as a left wing back. Now, it says here that Hatate was called up to the Japanese university team to play in 2017, where he scored 3 goals, helping Japan to win the title for the 6th time. He also featured at the 2018 AFC Under-23 Championship. However, he did not score in this competition, and Hatate helped Japan in the 2019 Summer University title in July 2019, scoring 2 goals, including one against Brazil in the final. So from graduating from university to signing to a J1 league side, he's only just went up and up and up. But he's 25 years old, and you have to almost question, are Celtic benefiting from the fact that he's had such almost a slow start to his professional career, by being in a university degree and going through that way. It's almost like the Americans do it for the basketball leagues. You play at university level and then you get drafted into the NBA. It's almost like that's kind of what's happened to him in the Japanese footballing world. And now obviously Ange Postecoglou has recognised the ability of the boy. He was in the best 11 for the J League that year, and obviously Ange has brought him to Celtic. Now, so far this season, I'm sure this is up to date, that he's scored 5 goals and he's assisted 7 in the league, and obviously he scored the 2 goals in the cup game there, and I think he scored 1 in the League Cup as well. How far can Hatate go? Is he got more levels to him, or is it getting to that point now where at 25 years old, I've not heard any clubs are looking at him yet. We're seeing all this that we're seeing Fabrizio Romano giving it clubs in England are looking at Starfelt. We've not seen anything about clubs looking at Hatate yet, which I find very difficult to believe. Are we benefiting from the fact that maybe clubs are looking at him and he's like, oh, he's already 25, probably hitting 26, he's hitting to his peak, when it's now favourable to sign younger players? Are Celtic benefiting from having Hatate here, and have we got him for the long haul?
I don't know if we've got him for the long haul, but we've probably just enjoyed him when we've got him. Because he's absolutely brilliant. I think he's going to go to the very, very top. I think he'll probably go to Germany, or else he'll go to maybe a Spain, because I don't know if he's suited to English football. I just think he's a Rolls Royce kind of player. I think he typically reminds me of somebody like Chubby Alonso or Luka Modric. Somebody with a bit of flair about him, and he just seems to, I don't know, he just seems to make everybody around him better. He's got a great first touch. He's got a great shot on him. I just think if nobody's looking at him, they must be sitting me a blindfold on, because this guy is absolutely brilliant. You know, I really do. I think he could walk into any English Premier League team at the moment. I mean, you speak about Liverpool. I mean, you speak about Bellingham and players like that. I mean, you try to tell me that it wouldn't be worth a point for Liverpool to go and sign him. I mean, who have they got in the midfield now? They've got Jordan Henderson, who's 33 or 35. Surely you could get 5 or 6 seasons at Real Hatai. I mean, the guy is absolutely brilliant. I know that Brighton, they tend to go for a lot of Japanese players, so I don't know if he'll be one that they'll look at. But yeah, I think he'll be on the radar of a lot of clubs. Like I said, if they're not looking at him, they must be putting a blindfold on, or they must be drunk at the wheel or something, because this guy is going to go to the very top. And of course, we've got Peter Lowell there, but Peter Lowell don't daft. I think Peter Lowell know we need to get top dollar for this guy, and if we don't, that is negligence by the club. Negligence, because this guy is worth a lot of money, you know. And Celtic just need to enjoy him while he's here, because the best goal that I've seen for a debut was the goal he scored at Tynecastle.
Oh, what a goal!
And people were blaming Craig Gordon for the goal. They were saying, "Oh, what's Craig Gordon doing?" I was like, "Are you serious, pal? Craig Gordon's getting nowhere near it if he's get, you know, you could have put two people in that centre of the goal and nobody was stopping it." But I do think he'll be a target for Rangers next week, but I think he'll be in 10 goal for us next week as well, because we all know that he does like a goal against Rangers as well. So,
Phil, the thing with Hatate is, like, obviously right now, like, he's almost like he can't do anything wrong. However, he's the type of player that he almost plays with a little bit of naivety, and I don't know if that's down to the fact that obviously he's not been a professional football for very long. And what I mean by that is, I'm not saying that he's naive in terms of in that sense. I just mean, like, he'll try something that I think more like seasoned players like Amoy wouldn't try, and obviously that comes with risk. Therefore, they're not always going to come off. We only saw recently that Hatate tried to dribble out from an area of the pitch that was maybe unnecessary to do so, which then led to a goal, which obviously, of course, was a thunderbolt of a goal. And however, it did really initiate because of Hatate's maybe naivety at the time. But I'm all right with that, because I feel like risks need to be taken, especially in a team like Celtic. I don't want it to be too safe all the time, and I think Hatate does that for you. And 9 times out of 10, it tends to come off like that pass last week out wide, and then to make that run and score. It was almost identical what he did for the third goal yesterday. So I'm absolutely like that. But would you think Hatate would be satisfied if he didn't move on to a more challenging league, we'll call it? Do you think he'd be quite, if it got to the point where it was like, you're still here and you're now 28 years old, and maybe clubs just aren't going to be looking to sign you now. That's maybe past. Do you think he would be satisfied that he stayed at Celtic and became more of a proper, I don't want to say Celtic legend yet, but like if it got to that point where he was considered like a Nakamura, like a Celtic legend, would he be satisfied with that?
It's too early to say, I think, because we can be throwing all sorts of curveballs. Look at, initially I feel like the longer Ange Postecoglou's here, I think Hatate will be here. I feel like he'd be very loyal to him. But we've seen things in the past that have hit us, I don't know, out of nowhere, where Kieran Tierney we thought would be a lifer at Celtic and he left. So it's like you just don't know at this point in time. Could it be a case of we become a victim of our own success if we win treble after treble again? And Hatate's like, well, I've done everything I need to do here, move on. I'm not quite sure at the moment. I agree with Regan. I think we should just try and enjoy him while he's here as best we can, because we don't know what the future holds regarding that, and you don't know a player's mindset. I would like to think that he will stick around for a good few more years, and I say as long as Ange is here. He'll be, because to me he epitomises Ange Postecoglou's style of play. Ange just said from day one he's all about sort of high risk, high reward. I remember when Hatate made his debut in that game against Hibs after the transfer window last January, and you could tell right away, you're like, oh, this boy's a player. He was taking risky passes. Of course, there was those that look at spreadsheets for coming out on shows and saying, well, he tried 11 passes and only completed 6 of them, and it's like, mate, don't even talk to me about stuff like that. It's like I could see in my own eyes the energy in this player, the engine room that he is. You could tell this boy's a player. Don't give me all that. Oh, I mean, he tried 11 passes and didn't complete them. Don't care. Nobody cares, mate. Nobody cares, mate. So to me, I like the whole going for a risky pass. Think back into the Champions League games that we played as well. Remember the infamous one where he just pinged one right across the park for throw-in against Real Madrid and stuff like that. I'm more than happy for him to try them. He's doing them in an area that isn't putting us in too much danger, I feel. If he was doing it in his own area, doing things like that, then okay, maybe. But no, he doesn't seem to put us in too much danger, I feel, at times. I'm all for the whole high-risk thing, and that's the way Ange likes them to play. I say it's all about high risk, high reward, and that's why he keeps driving into them about this. I want you to play, because see, when it does come off, it's a thing of beauty to watch, man. So, but yeah, regarding Hatate, though, I agree with Regan. Let's just enjoy him for as long as we can, and let's just hope that there's no sudden bids for him coming. They're going to pay attention to him eventually, sadly, but hopefully not.
And I think we can safely say that Hatate's enjoying the ride just as much as we're enjoying watching it, because like Brian Warrior's made a good point here, Mark, that he thinks that Hatate is probably looking at Celtic and wondering how has he ended up playing in front of 60,000 fans and playing against Real Madrid. And then he goes on to say, you're telling me he was at college envisioning that not so long ago. Aye, right. Absolutely. I think Brian Warriors hit the nail on the head there. I think Hatate, obviously, you will have had goals and confidence in himself that he could get to the highest level. But I mean, it's always a pipe dream. Like, I'm going to be playing against Real Madrid in the Champions League. And now he's, after only debuting in 2019 in the J League, 2 seasons later, he's pinging ridiculous passes that are going viral on Twitter up against one of the most successful, if not the most successful clubs in world football.
Of course. I mean, and he's not been got the restraints of a guy who's played 150, 200 games for Celtic, and they're too experienced, and they start to hold back in the dangerous passes, as you put it. I mean, I think the guy just sees a pass, he sees a movement, and he just goes for it, and he's got the technical ability to pull it off. The guy's an absolutely fantastic football player. Just enjoy him while we can. And do you know something? I don't need validation from England or why is nobody looking at Hatate or Carter Vickers. Good. I mean, we don't want them to look at them. The longer we keep the good players a bit, I need somebody sitting in a house in Bournemouth tweeting how good Hatate is. I couldn't care less what the English fans or media think about Celtic players. We know how good they are. The more arrogant they are towards us, the better for Celtic, because we'll keep our better players for longer. I mean, Brendan Rodgers, he built an absolute machine at Celtic. Players that were just above anybody else in that league. And they weren't all sold for underneath us. You know what I mean? It was Dembele went eventually to France. Stuart Armstrong wasn't actually getting games every week. He gets sold. We didn't actually lose a lot of first 11 players under Brendan Rodgers. And that's still the same thing that's got to be happening now. They don't look at Scottish football as a serious contender for bringing in top talent. And that's a good thing for Celtic. We don't need to be validated, as I say, by any geek on YouTube or TikTok or whatever. These people compile the best midfielders in the UK. I'm not interested in who Arsenal have got or Chelsea have got, and if Kieran Tierney was better than them. I couldn't care less, to be quite honest with you. Celtic will always have good players.
Sorry, Matt. Sorry, I interrupted you. I just wanted to quickly say, just let it express my mind. It's almost becomes almost like a trophy in itself when a player is moved on by the opposition. Like we'll say Rangers, for example, that they're bragging about how much we've sold such and such. Like they're almost happy about it. When it's always a weird one for me, going, why are you pleased that you've said that your best player has gone to Ajax? Like, would you not rather he'd stayed? Do you not feel like it's exactly what you're saying, Mark? It's like we don't want people from England to come and say, why is Tatty not playing for Liverpool? Yeah, you're right. We would easily get 50 million for him, and I'll be rubbing my hands when we do. But really, no, I'd rather a wee bit of tongue in cheek with the 50 million by the way before you start jumping down my throat. I was already told to shut up last week.
Yeah, but I was thinking more than 90 million, no 50.
Oh yeah, but I'm agreeing with Mark is I'd much rather we just rather we keep these players than go yes, we sold a player to Liverpool for X amount of money and look how well he's doing now. Look at Virgil van Dijk. Look at him winning Champions Leagues. Yeah, I wish he was still at Celtic though.
It's almost like that becomes the most important thing is how much they're worth to the club financially. I mean, what they're worth to the club is what they give the fans, the enjoyment they give on the park, the goals they score. See, the minute we get a good player, the fans automatically now are conditioned to think, how much money are we going to get for him? We get 18 for this guy, we'll get 12 for him. And do you know, it's the furthest thing from my mind when I see a Celtic player.
Very true, Mark.
When I see a Celtic player performing well, I think to myself, right, the longer I see him in a Celtic strip, the better. Do you know, I would love to think the same, but I'm realistic. I know there's got to be teams watching these players and probably teams watching our manager. The most important thing is that Celtic get the best out of them when they're here and then get rewarded financially when they go. I mean, that's the most important thing when a player's going to go is that you get what you're due back. You know what I mean? Whether the English or the Italians or Germans think Scotland's worth watching, I couldn't really care less. In fact, do you know something? It benefits us because we're doing pretty well financially without getting £40 million for players. And do you know what? See, if we did get £40 million for players, we wouldn't spend it anyway. But I mean, we've already proven that. I mean, I'm not going to go back into the board talk because it's really beginning to bore myself now. But it's it doesn't really matter. Look at the constraints in Scottish football, whether we had £100 million in the bank or no. It's a quite frankly, if I'm being totally honest with you, it's one of the worst leagues that I've seen as a Scottish football fan. The quality is terrible. I mean, even Aberdeen. I still associate Aberdeen as one of the big. In fact, Aberdeen are the biggest club in the country with the big two. They're a phenomenal sized club that the fan base can compete with almost every English club down there, and they've got big pockets of fans in a small city, in a big city. They don't outreach that well. But Aberdeen came in yesterday. They played a 3-5-2 in my reckoning, and basically turned into a 5 anytime Celtic were even in our own box. It was a 5 at the back, and they were pulling in their centre halves and making it a 7 sometimes. It was just hard to break down. The Celtic were just so far above them that they were playing through them like knife through butter. I'll go back to my original point before we move on. Hatate is an absolutely outstanding football player. He's as good as anybody I've seen in a Celtic jersey playing the role where he plays. And that's the biggest compliment I can give him. Where he's here for one more year or 2 more years, we don't know. But as Regan says, just enjoy him, because if folk don't look at him, I'm not going to get upset about it. Don't be getting angry that Chelsea have bought a guy for £30 million for Reading that's nowhere near Hatate's level. Yeah. Just be thankful that they don't think Celtic players are good enough and let Reading lick their wounds for losing their best player.
Yep, well said.
So true,
eh?
And you've muted yourself, Mr. Logue.
Sorry,
Hey.
I've got French Eddie in the background and he's snoring his head off, so I'm just muting myself in case it's coming through the microphone.
That's David's dog, by the way. He doesn't have actual
I
Hudson
have
Edward
not got,
sitting
I've
there.
not got Edward kidnapped. That's
That's-
like some weirdo.
The dog barks, but the
Never
barber
really.
keeps on moving.
Well, that plays into the lazy stereotype for Edward, doesn't it? Because people said he was snoring on the park most of the time anyway. So there you go, David. You've French Eddie in the background. Aye.
Yep. I tell Dembele to come as well, mate. Anyway, right, let's look at the there's a party going on at mine when I've got French Eddie and Dembele around. All right, okay, let's move on. Right, so let's have a look at Sunday, right? Because I think it's time to start looking towards, because I know a certain other manager has not taken his eyes off us for the past however long, so I'm sure we will now indulge him and we shall look straight back at him, because we've been a little bit occupied just doing our thing at Celtic, whereas Mr. Beale has not taken a single eye off what we are doing. And I think it's now getting to the point where it's the realization starting to kick in, and maybe he's talked himself into a little bit of a corner here, Regan. Now I've made it quite clear before. I've got a lot of clients that come to the shop. I've got a lot of clients, but I've got a lot of clients that come to the shop that are Rangers fans, and quite funnily enough, without any prompting, we were just talking about the are you looking forward to the game, blah blah blah, and without any prompt, the boy said to me, "I just wish he would stop talking." Now, I don't know if that's if he's talking for the majority of the Rangers fan base, but I do start to wonder if the fans are now getting to the point where they're as well just going, just stop talking about them. Just stop talking about them, because the more and more he talks and the less that Ange bothers about it, it's going to be one, if we go and win next week, which I'm fairly confident that we will. If we do win, that is going to be one fall from grace for Mr. Beale, Regan.
David, I think the most interesting part about this is Michael Beale's building up a reputation of knowing that he's already lost the league, and he's just going to build it up to be Michael Beale versus Chris Sutton. I just don't understand that at all. I just don't. And I think Ange's absolutely reveling in this. I think Ange likes the competitive edge that Michael Beale says, because I know a lot of stations for saying when Gio was in charge, Gio and Ange would meet up for a coffee, they're good pals, they chat a lot, and away you go. I mean, I don't know. I know Ange was spotted with Gio saying hello to his wife and children, but God's sake. But I mean, I just don't understand where Michael Beale is going with this. I mean, for me, I can see Ange winning next week and going straight over to Chris Sutton and going, "See, I told you so." I think Ange knows that this guy is full of absolute shite. He knows this guy's full of shite, but he's just enjoying the whole media attention being put on him. Because every single week, I'm not looking to see what Rangers players are injured, or looking to see who's back in the squad. I'm looking to see what absolute crap Michael Beale's talking this week. Like, every week there's something else about, we're not looking at Celtic. Then this week it was, the league's over, it could take a lot. And then the week before that it was, we're not going to talk about them. He couldn't even mention Celtic. So I just think the guy is building up the wrong type of reputation. I think he's building that reputation up because he goes, shit, this league title's already gone, so I better try and make sure the Rangers fans still like me. So I don't actually know, but what I do know is, David, I think we're going to put a strong performance on next week, and we're going to absolutely enjoy every single minute, knowing that Michael Beale and his coaching staff are going to be hurting. But I think one thing that they will try and do, and everybody on the show knows this, Rangers will try and play a different type of football that we'll try and play next week. Rangers will try and ruffle us up. They'll get John Lundstrom in to tackle. They'll get Connor Golson to throw his arms about with Kyogo. They'll try and do anything possible to win this game. They don't want to win the game fair and square. They want to win the game any way possible.
I think Regan is onto a point there, Phil. But I want to just quickly. So I have he won't mind me saying this, right? But I've got a barber, Lyle, right? And Lyle hates awkward silences.
Yeah.
Hates them. And if he says something to you, like you just speak to you, and if you just don't even respond within maybe 2 seconds, he then continues to speak to the point where he is no longer actually doesn't even know what he's even talking about.
Yep.
And I even just do it for a laugh. I let him speak to me, and then I just don't respond. I just stare at him, and then I just sit and I watch him. I can see him freaking out, and he continues to speak, and he speaks, and I go, Lyle, like, chill out. I'm starting to think that's maybe what Beale's got. I think
maybe
he says something, and then he realizes, oh, wait a minute, I don't, and then he just continues to talk and talk and talk, and he just needs somebody to go, Michael, relax, right? We asked you a question, you answered it. You never gave me 2 seconds to ask the next question, so you've just continued to speak and speak and speak, and then you've went, oh no. And then the following week, you have to go, see when I said them, I didn't mean to be disrespectful. And then the next week, you sold me up this one. Make me talk about players that I said that I was interested in. We never said anything to you, Michael. We asked you if you had any transfer dealings to do, and you continued to talk and talk and talk. And I just think that's what's been happening. So, I mean, yes, I did put it down to maybe a bit of naivety. And I think the media, as much as I think they maybe favour him a little bit more than they did at Ange. I do also think they see him as this guy's selling his papers because he just talks and talks and talks. And I think the media have taken advantage of that.
David, you know who's going to be on Viaplay next week for Viaplay for the Cup final? Mr. Chris Sutton. So that's going to be interesting.
Oh, aye. So you will, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So, Phil, do you think the media's maybe just they're starting to lap it up a little bit as well?
He gives them the headlines that they want, or this hyperbole. I mean, I always think of it as like a tennis match. She'll return their serve, but Ange does it so subtly. Like yesterday, I don't know, on the way back for the game, I don't know if any of you's heard it, but on Radio Scotland, Ange just doing his post-match, very run-of-the-mill stuff, nothing to do. But he gets a wee subtle dig in there when he talked about the cup final. He says, big week coming up this week. I'm sure there'll be a lot of noise around the game. You know who he's referring to there. There's just that one wee line in there, and it's like you know exactly who that's saying. That you could probably envision the sort of facial expression he pulled, probably rolled his eyes or something as he said it, because it's like he's just a wee subtle digs in it. But of course, we Beale, it's like blunt force trauma to the face. It's just like not subtle about it at all. We just won't shut up, man. And it's like you're digging yourself in a hole here, because if you don't deliver, and as we saw yesterday, there was a banner that was displayed. Well, they weren't too happy about when they talked about standards, and they referenced 2 trophies in 11 years. So there's a bit of unrest there as well. So if he doesn't deliver that trophy for them, and of course the Rangers fans had a banner yesterday at the Tony Mac. Yeah. Regarding he said something after the Partick Thistle goal last week that he allowed that we have standards at this club to maintain, and I think a lot of Rangers fans took it as well. Won 2 trophies in 11 years. There's other standards you should be trying to maintain. So there's a bit of unrest there. So if he doesn't win it, and God, of course, we hope he doesn't win it, we'll be hoping that there'll be a lot of misery for them. There's fans that look like they're ready to turn against him already. So. Yeah, he's talking himself into a lot of trouble. I think just zip it, mate. Just quiet. Zip it. Yeah. Zip it.
Yeah, Mark. If we go and win on Sunday, does that really start the pressure and the wall start to close in on Beale already? If we're starting to see a slight bit of unrest, is this the one? I know they're still obviously still in the Scottish Cup as well, but like if they don't win this cup next week, is that a real massive dent in the Beale brigade?
I think he's doing a lot of sleight of hand, David. I think what he's doing is he's using himself as like a buffer, because if he actually focused on his team's performances, it probably wouldn't be as good as what the scoreline suggests. I mean, they're winning matches, but they're losing goals almost every game. I've seen they've had a sending off for the opposition in half the games that he's managed, and they've had penalties for 5 out of the 13 or whatever he's managed. So it's not like they're dominating teams and they're smashing them aside. It's like he's getting good press for the results, and that's fair. But when he's making it all about himself, he's taking away the focus for what really matters, and that's the performances on the park. You know what I mean? And I think he's quite clever to do that, but I don't think he's doing it to be clever. I think he's it's just a byproduct of the fact that he's just wanting to be the centre of attention, to be quite honest with you. I think the Beale bandwagon will lose 1-8's wheels if Rangers don't win next week, because not only is it another trophy that they have to secondly watch Celtic lift, they've got a mindset just now that the 9-point cap doesn't exist, and Rangers are on par with Celtic, and it was something that he inherited. And so see if we go there and beat them and win a trophy, I think it says a lot for where both clubs are actually at. You know what I mean? It kind of lays a marker down for Celtic to say, look, we're still the daddies in this country. Take away the COVID season aside, we still run this country. You know what I mean? One season out of 13 or whatever it is doesn't make a summer. You know what I mean? But I don't think for a minute that Ange Postecoglou takes any notice of the rubbish that comes out of his mouth. I think the press love it. David, I think you mentioned there that the press probably love him because he's good copy. But to be honest with you, that's good for us, because I remember my dad saying to me years ago, see, as long as they always think Tillman's the best player in the country, see, as long as they think in their minds that they've got the best at everything, there's never a desire to improve. And if they think they're the best version of themselves just now, then they're not going to be desiring, or there's no appetite to improve it. We know we're better than them, and that's good enough for me. No matter what Beale hits it with, what rubbish Hugh Keevins hits it with, or Keith Jackson hits it with, I'm not really caring. Celtic are so far ahead of them in terms of where we are as a club in our journey, on the park, after the park, the structure. It's on a different level for them. You know what I mean? And what we quip seekers away with after a match, calling us them and talking out his mole and his backside at the same time. I think I'm not as confident as some people are about next week. I think Celtic will win. I think they'll get a better team, they'll get a better bench, they'll get a better management, a better setup in every department. But football games can be won and lost. I've seen better teams no win matches, and I've seen worse teams win matches. But I'm confident that Celtic will turn up to be the best they can do on the day. We've also got 2 referees that will be doing everything they can to stop us. But it's just it's a barometer for both clubs next week. Hampden Park will hopefully be a bit better nick than what it was a couple of months ago, whatever it was, January. And Celtic they've gone into this game in good form, but they went into the game in January in good form and didn't get a result, albeit a result was to come away for the match nailing a nail in their coffin, and we did do that. I mean, people are forgetting that the one blot on his copy paper is the fact that he had a do-or-die match at Ibrox, which he didn't win. That included a penalty kick getting awarded to them, surprise, surprise, and he's still going to give it the line. We still managed to claw a result. And for some reason, it was seen as a positive for them because they didn't get beat. Now, I've said before, if their barometer is getting close to us, then our vision for what makes Celtic good and what their vision for what makes their club good are 2 totally different things.
I agree with you.
Thanks, Regan. At least somebody does.
No, a lot of people always agree with you, Mark, in the chat. Quite a lot of people this morning saying spot on, Mark, with your points you've been making, as usual. David, can I make a quick point, a quick question I wanted to bring up when we're talking about the huge week ahead?
Yeah,
had a little talking point, just a wee sort of fun sort of what if, and just to get a barometer from the fans, because it's something we talk about a lot on the bus. I know Russell He's talked about it. And last night I got a wee taste of it because I was backstage with Terry and Russell last night, and I threw this question to them. And I got.
Did you have a backstage pass on?
I had my backstage pass on. I did. They sent me the link to jump on for a wee chat. But yeah, I got exactly the answers I was expecting from the two of them. It was opposite ends. So obviously we've got the cup final coming up this Sunday, right? Now go back to the Champions League campaign that we had, and we were in that group with Leipzig, Shakhtar, Real Madrid. Leipzig obviously finished second. So if we had a good campaign, right, put us in Leipzig's position and finish second, we would have Manchester City coming to town this coming midweek. which would mean we'd have a Man City Champions League game midweek and the cup final on the Sunday. Which would you guys, I'll put it to the panel first, because we get called the panel by Monty and so forth. What would you be more excited about this coming week if we had a Champions League game with Man City midweek or the cup final on Sunday against Rangers? What would be tickling your taste buds more on that one? Taste buds.
I'll let you go first, Regan. You can go first, mate.
What would tickle my tartan taste buds? I think it would be probably the Man City game for me, just because when Dembele scored those 3 goals in that game. And simply because Man City is probably one of the best teams on the planet, and Rangers are dog meat compared to them. But yeah, I think the Rangers game has got its own appeal, obviously. But I think the Man City game for me.
Okay.
I think I'd say Man City as well. I think the cup game could take care of itself. I think we're strong enough team to go and prioritise the Champions League game and still get the job done in the league, in the League Cup. I think Rangers even managed to prove it against us when we were giving it all. You know, they've got a European final to play before they play us in the cup, and of course was it against us? I can't remember if it was the semi-final. The point I'm making, regardless, is that they managed to play it, and obviously it took them to a penalty shootout, and then they go into extra time only three days later. So I think I'd be more excited to be watching us play against Man City. My only concern, though, Phil, is when you look at that Manchester City front line, and you've got Haaland, and you've got Grealish and Mahrez and De Bruyne, and I just don't know how Starfelt fits them all in his back pocket. It's a big dilemma.
I know. Starfelt pocket and Haaland, no bother. But no, you don't need to treat it as a Man City, just any big European tie, just.
But I think the two of them are two totally different things. I mean, I think everybody wants to see Celtic play against like the creme de la creme in Europe, and that's ultimately the goal for Celtic as a club, to be competing at the highest level, and we all want to see that. And I think if I went at the Man City for each game was probably one of the best atmospheres I've ever experienced, probably up there with Barcelona, to be honest with you. It was. I think I would look forward to the Man City game because it's different, and you'd feel a wee bit like Europe's eyes are watching Celtic, and so it should be, because they're one of the biggest clubs out there. But for me, if we lost the game, I think I would be looking forward to the cup final within half an hour. I wouldn't be sitting dragging my heels in the way home. I think if we get beat after Rangers, your full week, your full 2 weeks is spoiled by that. You know what I mean? It's like it's not just getting up and going to your work and taking the slagging. It's not just getting up and scared to check the papers, check Facebook, Twitter, etc., and see what the backlash is. I mean, it totally affects you emotionally when Celtic lose against Rangers. It's like a kick in the teeth. It's like no other result. I mean, nothing. Your dinner didn't taste the same. You know, I mean, nothing is the same. I mean, if you won, I mean, it's a mixture of pure joy and relief. You know what I mean? And you don't get that for any other fixture. And the only other fixture I think would come close to it was as if you're playing like a European final or a do or die game that meant so much to the club. And I'm with anybody that wants to compete in Europe. I mean, that is obviously a club the size of Celtic's ultimate goal is to try and get to the latter stages and try and eventually win a trophy. I mean, everybody knows that, but the two of them are two totally different things. But the question asked is, what one would draw more importance to the club? It would be the European game, right? Me emotionally as a fan, it would be the Rangers game, and the reason why that would be is because me emotionally, I could stomach losing a game in Europe, even a big game in Europe. They would ultimately end at some juncture. I would stomach that more as a fan emotionally than I would turn up to Hampden and playing against. I mean, this isn't a rival like anybody else. This isn't just football. It's everything within your being is out to beat Rangers, and they're out to beat you, and it's not just about the football match. It's everything that's revolving around your life sometimes matters in these matches, and I think it affects me for about a week or two. You know what I mean? Then I mean, when I look at the Neil Lennon season, I mean, I struggled that full year. I mean, I was struggling to sleep and everything. I was really tortured watching that Celtic. It wasn't just about Celtic getting beat. I almost became apathetic to it. It was just drained. I was drained watching Celtic, and that wasn't anything to do with Europe. I mean, if we go to the last 8 or last 16 in Europe that season, I'd have seen that as a wee bit of a distraction or a sideshow in terms of how bad that season was going. It would have just been a wee chink of light in the dark days at Celtic that year, and nothing would come close to relieving that bitter taste you get in your stomach and your mouth when Celtic are playing bad and then beating Rangers. I remember, Phil, you all remember this. I don't know, but I mean, I remember when we beat Rangers 3-0 at Hampden. Remember Van Hooijdonk?
Van Hooijdonk, Rudy Vata.
Aye, that was a very rare occasion. I mean, some fans maybe don't remember it now because even when you talk about it, but that was a rare occasion where that season was gone. You know what I mean? But it was. You were going, wow, it was just a big relief for the Celtic fans. You know, it was almost like winning a cup. It just felt like something was different that day. We beat them and we'd horsed them for once. And I don't know. I mean, I look back to the Dembele, the Edouard game when we won 3-2 Ibrox the last time we were allowed in, basically. And I was at that game the last time I was beating Ibrox because they closed it down after that. And see that, I mean, no much comes close to. I can still hear the ball hitting that back of that net, and you still in your mind's eye see things, right? And you can still picture things in your. I can still see that ball hitting the back of that net and that place exploding with a noise that I've very rarely heard. You do get that in European nights at Celtic against where it's Sturm Graz or where it's Spartak Moscow. I mean, the level of opposition sometimes doesn't matter in Europe because you just feel like it's the stage Celtic should be at, and you're so relieved to see them win. But Rangers games are standalone games for me only. I'm not talking for anybody else in the show or the chats, but nothing comes close to the despair you feel when the Rangers beat you. But nothing comes close to the actual joy you feel and relief you feel at full time. My body aches. See, after a derby match, my body is actually tired with how much effort I've put in watching that match. And I don't get that for any other game of football. Just me personally speaking. Celtic v Rangers isn't about Celtic are formed for, but it's what Celtic were built on. It's that rivalry, you know what I mean? And it's helped build us to the club where they knew that's where we like it or no. And for me, if I wanted to win, what match would be bigger for the club? You would probably say the European game because of the connotations for it, but the joy for beating Rangers, nothing comes close to it.
That's fair enough. And funny enough, Russell's actually in the chat because those when I said at the start, I asked Terry and asked Russell. You can probably guess Russell was more in favour of the European night, and Terry would be more excited about the domestic cup final. So that was the answer I expected to them. Yeah. See that. I've been about fucking 95% of Champions League games the Celtic have played in the home and before I stopped counting them. And that 30 seconds, it's loud. In reality, it hits and you lose 5 goals. It doesn't make up for the 90 minutes of football, and it doesn't come close to scoring a goal against Rangers. I don't care what anybody says. That 30 seconds of going, oh wow, how good is it? This is going to be on YouTube tomorrow. This is great. It doesn't come close to seeing Celtic scoring against Rangers. No chance. Aye, I thought it would be a good, interesting point up there because it's something we spoke about plenty of times on the bus. Because we've talked about what is Ange's ambitions. Is it domestic dominance or does it take us to the next step in Europe? And if we had a big European game on the same week as a cup finals, it would have failed that way this week just by chance. I just thought it'd be interesting to just put out there. But majority of the comments are saying that it's a bit mixed, but I would say it's leaning more towards the Rangers game at the moment. The replies that we've had in there. But yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to throw it out there and just see what the folk thought about it, because it could be a polarising topic. It's one of those ones that, where are we as a club? What are our ambitions? But I know come 2:59 next Sunday, I'll be absolutely up for it. It'll be like the Champions League final for me next Sunday when we get there.
Can I ask a quick question for you three, just on the back of that?
For the who? For the who? What,
see when
the panel?
See when
The panel.
no, see when we get. I missed that. Sorry, what you
The
saying?
panel. I was saying for the panel. You're asking for the
Panel.
panel.
Sorry, David. I kind of make it at the same time. No, it's like, see when you lose against, I don't know, like Juventus, Man City in the Champions League or whatever. See you walk out the stadium and you're discussing the match. There's a wee bit of dejection, right? But it doesn't even go to 1% of dejection that you feel in the fan base when you walk out of Celtic Park and you beat Alpha Rangers, because that just is like a grey cloud. Doesn't matter how sunny it is, you can just feel the disappointment. It's almost like you can smell it in the air, and you don't get that for a Champions League game of football. You just don't. The two of them don't even come close.
Do you think that, Mark, is because we're so conditioned to not performing in Europe that we've just become conditioned to just be like, well, we're not good enough anyway? And is that maybe, and I'm not saying that this is gospel, I'm just throwing it out there, it's just totally just to throw something out there. Does that, what you've talked about in those feelings, and obviously that they can't be helped, you can't help that feeling that you get when you lose or you win against Rangers, but does that then hold us back as a club to then push forward?
No, mate, I don't think it does.
Because obviously rivalry is massive, obviously, especially the rival that we have within Scottish football. But rivalry is obviously massively important in football, and it's almost one.
Does it make Barcelona worse than Real Madrid or other rivals?
Well,
does it make Man City or worse? That's just a soundbite from me, mate. I don't think us as a club or a fan base go, well, as long as we beat Rangers, that's all right. I think you have to beat Rangers to get into Europe. You know what I mean? Well, technically you do it right, so that's your starting point. But I don't think we start the campaign and go, we're just not as ambitious as what the fans want to be. But I don't think the board say, hey, we're not going to be ambitious because we can beat Rangers this season. The Celtic board have got a level which they're willing to push us to. And I don't think that's, if Rangers are really bad, it means they don't need to invest as much to get to Europe. But I don't think the European standard that we set is going to be how bad
I don't want to put words in Bhoycie's mouth, but from when he's spoken about certain things like, and you've said there, like, as long as the board are satisfied that we're satisfied that so long as we beat Rangers, that's important, then you didn't have to worry about us buying a better caliber of player to be the Champions League, because you're conditioned to think, well, we're not good enough for it anyway, so why spend the money? So long as we beat Rangers and we win the league and we win all the trophies, then we should be satisfied with that. But
if you go to the last 8 every year but finish second, would that satisfy you, David?
Well, no, of course it wouldn't. But I feel like, look at this. This is ridiculous. My fucking headphone here. I'm holding it like a DJ now. I think this is absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, no, we want to be winning. We want to win trophies. We don't want to become like what it's like in England, where it's like you're celebrating staying up or you're celebrating getting into fourth because you're getting that Champions League money. No, we want to win trophies, of course. But again, like I keep saying, I think the league takes care, the way that we operate as a club, as it is, the league kind of, as it's proven over the last decade and longer, that the league kind of takes care of itself so long as we do what we do on the park. I do, and I know you do as well, want us to progress and be a better club in Europe. But again, it's like, obviously we obviously, and I keep going back to it, and I'm just throwing out there, this isn't my opinion, I just kind of want to get the talking point across that maybe others maybe think we're just probably aren't going to progress if we are tunnel vision is fully on, just so long as we're slightly better than them. Because I think Bhoycie has said it in the past, and it was almost, I remember having this discussion with my pal, who I use as an example a lot because he is such a die-hard Rangers fan, that when they were in the lower leagues, he would say, if we do start to show any sign of getting stronger, then you will just put your foot on our throats. Like, that was his view on it, and I don't think we ever did that, because it was because of Peter Lawwell, and the board were quite happy with, well, as long as we're slightly better, then that's all that matters. And that's when we probably could have tried to, the league would have taken care of itself, while they were certainly not in the league, and when they did first come back up. But we never really pushed the boat out to try and be a better club in Europe. And I think that's where the argument kind of comes in from both sides. Say that again, Regan?
I think that'll always be the case, David. I think you made a great point there. I think that'll always be the case in the Celtic board's mind. They'll always try and just be that bit ahead. They've not got the ambition as a club to say we want to progress in Europe. Of course, you can do a lucky one season where Rangers get into a European final with
Aye.
big average players, but Celtic's board ambition is not to do well in Europe. It's to do well in Scotland.
I mean, the board know that Celtic have got a glass ceiling, and to be quite honest with you, there's clubs that are a lot smaller than Celtic that just speculate and get further in Europe every season. Celtic should absolutely be aiming to get as far as they possibly can in Europe. I'm pushing for more players and better players, better than Kyogo, better than McGregor every season. I want to be the best version of Celtic can ever be, and that would make Celtic better in Europe. But in the same breath, I don't think you could sit at the end of the season review and say to the board, right, we've won the treble, but we finished fourth in the Champions League. You failed in your task there. I don't think that's the case. I mean, you failed in the task of making Celtic better in Europe. Absolutely. I mean, but we're fighting against. We're getting into we're fighting a warship and we're on a dinghy. You know what I mean?
And nailed it there, Mark. You've nailed it.
I don't think it's fair, like, for Celtic fans. And do you know something? I see a wee day or two of disappointment on Twitter. That's only I've got that I can see the gauge opinion. A disappointment, a day or two when Celtic get put out of Europe. But it's no widespread dismay. But I tell you something, see come November and Celtic are 5 points behind Rangers, the chickens start clucking and they're no happy. I mean, the fan base, and do you know something? This isn't us facilitating the board's lack of ambition. Far from it. We always want to push Celtic, you know what I mean? After the pod and on the pod, but it's the club should be wanting to push forward. We all know that, right? But just get back to the original. There's absolutely nothing worse as a Celtic fan. Nothing worse as a Celtic fan than finishing behind Rangers or losing a match to Rangers. Nothing.
Yeah.
The only thing that's came close to the disappointment of losing a derby match for that just draining feeling is when we lost in Seville. But even at that was tinged with a lot of pride for me. I was so proud of Celtic that night.
Yeah.
But I was still drained by it all. You know what I mean? I was still gutted. But do you know what? See, even losing against Aberdeen or losing a cup final, I've watched them all. I've watched us get beat after Rafe Rovers, and it was just dejecting. But none of it's come close to getting beat after Rangers, mate. I mean, not your dinner doesn't taste the same. You're in a bad mood for days. You're dreading going to your work. You can't wait for the next match so there can be some sort of reference point other than just the last game they've played. And that doesn't happen in Europe. See, Celtic get beat 5-0 after PSG. I walked out the stadium. I've told you before in the chat. I had a discussion with the guy next to me, my brother. Do you know what? See, the time I got to my bed that night, I was focused on getting to work the next day. You don't do that when Rangers beat you. You're just scunnered. Life just fucking isn't the same. You know what I mean? For a couple of days, and you don't get that when Rangers don't win. You don't beat Barcelona or you don't beat Spartak Moscow. They're highs, and they're highs for a night. Something you enjoy watching back, but that's all they are. And Celtic, as a football club, are built on trophies. They're not built on good memories. You don't go to trophy room and say, mate, can you show me the wall of good memories? You go to the trophy room and you say, show me the European Cup. That was a trophy. Show me the Scottish Cup, the very first trophy we ever won. Show me the treble we just won last year. That's what you go to see. You don't go to see a waffle of memories. A quote for Iniesta. At that time, Juventus just beat us. No. Celtic is built through success. And I tell you something, there's nothing better than sitting in Celtic Park, at Hampden, and seeing the Celtic captain lift a trophy. That is worth 10,000 Champions League 30-second moments of the anthem. That is worth. You can take that. You can wrap up for me. I don't think there's that 30 seconds is. What's it good for? I mean, really, it's a great bit of noise, but really, is that us? Just that's us. That's actually us facilitating the board by saying, "Good, we're here. We want that 30 seconds. We see what happens after that. We're not all that fussed." No,
David, the
bigger
big thing.
picture is Celtic need to win trophies, need to build on success, need to win trophies, and that's.
No, I totally, I totally get what you're saying. I know, like, we have to be realistic in the shores that we swim in, Regan and Phil. I know you've not spoken for a while. I just
Sorry, guys.
No, that wasn't a dig at you, mate. But it's okay. When you walk away from an absolute thumping for even like a Bodo Glimt in a Conference League, that's reality there though, where it's like, well, we can't even make a mark in a third European league that was set up to almost just allow clubs like Hearts and other clubs like that to get a wee European run, and they obviously weren't doing very well on that either. But I think that's where reality hits, Phil, where it's like, well then, okay, winning trophies is the most important thing, and that's what exactly Marx just went on and said it. But like, reality does bite when you're getting beat off a club like Bodo Glimt, and reality really hits home. We've been on for an hour and 15 minutes now, Phil. Are you is there anything else you want to discuss before? I know we've got the Sunday sesh.
Sunday sesh later on
today. We'll be covering a fair bunch of topics. I've tried to avoid any topics that may not be discussed today, just so we've got a bit of variety in the content.
Well, I know your headset's broken, so I guess we'll need to go soon. He was getting a VAR check, everybody, when he was doing that. That's what he was doing. He was taking it to VAR. Going to VAR with that one. But yeah, your headset was playing up the other week where it's a bit flimsy at the joint or something. It's a bit broken, so I think I could see it was falling apart for you there. You haven't hold it.
It was ridiculous. I mean, it's been broken for months, but I think it's starting to wear. But before we do go, because I don't think I actually got your answer from you, Phil.
That's a good point, actually.
So Bhoycie's in my ear in the gorilla position, and he's saying, go back to the question I asked Phil and Regan: Man City Champions League qualifier or a Rangers League Cup final? What is your verdict on that, Phil? Quickly. I always
want Celtic to be the best they can be, and I want to see them test themselves against the best, because League Cup finals and Scottish Cup finals always come around. They're always going to be there. You know, we've always got a good chance of winning them every single season, although the two cups are kind of low in the priority. The league is always a priority, because you win the league, you get into the Champions League. To play these big teams, that is the key. Mm-hmm. So that is the one that matters the most. But when it comes to the two, if you're putting a cup final up against a European tie, as second as it would be to lose to Rangers, it's like, I want to see us play the best teams. So I would be excited for the European one. And and if we were to lose to Rangers, I would just say, well, okay, it's a sore one. I will get over it, because another opportunity will come up somewhere down the line to beat them in a cup final or just win that cup again in a year's time. But big European nights seem to be, especially for us after Christmas, seem to be a rare commodity these days. So the excitement of knowing that we had a big European tie coming up this midweek would really get me going. So I would be leaning more towards that again. I want to see Celtic test themselves against the best of the best, so I'll go for that one.
Mute myself again there.
No worries.
Right. Okay, guys, we'll wrap it up, because, like I said, it's now 10-1. We are back. Well, I'm not back on later, but the boss is back on later on. Phil, do you have a time frame? Do you know what time they're on later on? Sunday sesh.
I would take a guess sometime about 6 or after 6, but Russell's in the chat. He will probably confirm that soon.
You can confirm that in the chat.
It'll appear.
But I'm sure there's plenty more to talk about. However, I'm going to have to wrap this up, I'm afraid. So, again, thanks everybody for joining us again every Sunday brunch time. I hope you enjoyed the old blether with our usual panel of Phil, the Judge, Mark Kenny, and Regan Stevenson. 6:30 for the Sunday sesh, guys. Remember, check out piesports.com. Get your bus 1888 in the discount code to get 12.5% off. Get your pre-orders in for the Bhoycie Bus t-shirt. You can do that by emailing at crookedarm@ymail.com. All the information that you need is available in the community page and the bottom of the description of this show. Guys, I hope you enjoyed yourself today. We look forward to the next game, which of course is the Celtic Rangers cup final. Hope you all enjoyed yourself. Regan, did you enjoy yourself?
Oh, mate, it was very good to be on. Cheers for having me on, mate.
Always a pleasure, mate.
I'll see you again next Sunday for a big day.
Oh yes. Oh well, aye. Right, that'll be an interesting Blether. Right, guys, take care and we'll see you next week.
Nice. See you later, guys.
Thanks, guys.
When you've all that stuff at the start, you know, they won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.